Hello and welcome to the CITL Research and Practice Brief Series. The purpose of this series is to have conversations around the innovative use of technology in special education, early childhood, related services, and leadership personnel preparation programs. Today, we have Dr. Brittany Hott as our guest expert to share her research and practice on technology innovations in rural special education. Dr. Hott is a professor of special education at the University of Oklahoma and an associate director of the Institute for Community and Society Transformation. Her work focuses on instructional methods for students with learning and behavioral disabilities and research methods for developing and validating school-based interventions within rural contexts. Welcome, Dr. Hott.
Hi.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We are so happy to have you here today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Let's dive into questions right away. What challenges in rural education are you trying to address through your work, especially for students with disabilities?
So we have several projects that we're working on. One is an innovation in education research grant, and we're developing a explicit coaching protocol. It's really focused on how can we provide brief intervention and how can we leverage technology to provide coaching within rural contexts where we know that relationships and strong student and family partnerships are in place. Schools are really the community hub. So if we can help teachers to provide better behavioral supports, then we can impact an entire community. So that's what we are mostly focused on now.
Can you share how technology can help address the challenges and support learning for all students?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do with rural ed is we talk about challenges a lot. And there are so many strengths that if we capitalize on those strengths, we can leverage the community wealth, the things that we do have to ameliorate some of the challenges. In rural schools, the strengths are those community ties. It is that the school is the community hub. It is that the teacher's a professional. It's capitalizing on these things and helping to get research-based practices in schools. And one way we've done that is we've had face-to-face interactions with school districts. Some of them are 2 to 5 hours away from our university. So we found that face-to-face contact is so important in the beginning. But as the relationships evolve and as you become part of the community, we can leverage technology. And it's not always fancy technology. It is, we've got a hotspot and an iPad, and we're able to watch classroom instruction and provide coaching. We have platforms where we can talk back and forth, like Go React, where a teacher might record a behavioral incident, and then we'll take a look at it and coach the teacher through, of course, with parent and student permission to do so. We've really been able to use simple technologies and use them to develop relationships in a meaningful way. We started with 5 districts, and the network has grown to 77 districts who are involved in research projects right now with our team. And that's predominantly been word of mouth. It's been that research has helped, and that while we're testing interventions, we're also a support for the school. And sometimes schools and districts, quite frankly, come up with better questions than we do. For example, a superintendent called and said, "Hey, my car line is a mess. Dropping off kids." Any parent will tell you it is really hard in a car line, most anywhere. And we were able to design an intervention, measure the effects of the intervention, and we have a couple of papers coming out about how we designed a car line and used positive behavioral supports to help parents and teachers and school buses get kids to school safely. So some of it's pretty granular, and some of it's randomized control trial work, but the relationships have seemed to be the key and are the most important piece of the puzzle. And technology, very simple technologies, have helped us do that.
It really resonates me that technology doesn't have to be like a high tech all the time, because the way technology is defined is all the tools that help people achieve their goals. So no matter whether it's simple or complicated, low tech, high tech, if it can help people, that's pretty enough.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important that we don't forget that many of our rural locales are still struggling with broadband access.
Hmm.
There may not be internet, there may not be cell phone service, particularly as you move further away from urbanized
Hmm.
areas. And that's not always a bad thing.
Hmm.
Kids have more outside time. We're able to leverage the technologies that we do have and use them in a meaningful way. And even though that way may differ from community to community, as you said, it doesn't have to be super high tech. It can be simple as a Zoom conversation or a telephone conversation with a teacher or a child.
Yeah. If you use it as strength and make the most of the resources, I think that'll be enough. Yeah.
It is enough. And
Yeah.
it's sometimes the overcomplication of technology or trying to insert technologies that are more advanced actually can be a hindrance. And so
Mm.
it's that balance of the relationships and the face-to-face time and the meaningful and responsible use of technology to make things better for kids.
Yeah. So how have you integrated technology-based learning into your teacher preparation program?
So we've been very lucky that we have tech supports in our college. We have access to a lot of AI conferences, AI conversations. We have access to superintendents and teachers who are graduates who come back and talk to our students. We've really tried to talk about meaningful technology integration, that it's not a one size fits all, that this is really figure out your kids' needs and your teacher's needs, and the technology comes afterwards to meet
Hmm.
those needs, rather than, hey, we have this new technology app or we have this great computer-based program without figuring out the community needs or the school-based needs. We
Yeah.
have also talked to our teachers and provided activities in our preparation program that allow practice with technologies. For example, if there is a new online math curriculum, where do you go to see if this is evidence-based? And is it evidence-based for the children and teachers that we are serving and working with? And so it's helping our teacher candidates and our special education leaders walk through those processes before they're in the field. We're hopeful that we're not only teaching content in evidence-based practices, but we're also teaching where do you go when you don't know? And how do you process, hey, I've got a child who has this kind of challenge and these kind of strengths. How do I find an evidence-based intervention? And we really walk through that with them in a guided way.
I agree that humans should come first before technology, like thinking of needs and what are the goals to use this technology, and then to adopt the technology. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, among all the strategies that you've tried, which one did you see as most effective for preparing teachers to use technology in rural education context?
It's the human connection and the strengths.
Mm.
It's remembering that rural communities have so many strengths and to focus on those strengths to address any challenges that come up. If we operate from a strengths-based model versus a deficit-based model, we're going to make better decisions for kids. And so it's never about, hey, this is a great technology.
Mm.
This smart pen is going to solve the challenge, or hey, this text to speech. Again, not new technology with a rich body of research, figuring out, hey, does this match the need of this child or this teacher or this school? How do we use data dashboards? How do we make data-informed decisions? Is this computer-based learning program working? There's a strong evidence base that it works, maybe. It's evidence-based practice. But if it's not working for my students, why? Is this a fidelity issue? Is this an issue of this program doesn't match the needs of students? For example, we are working on a project and we have an example. There's an example in the program that talks about a substitute teacher comes and kids are sad, and how do you respond to this as students? Well, it had no meaning to the kids that the teacher was presenting this information in the curriculum to, because everybody knows everybody in the rural community. Our substitutes are somebody's mother or parent or grandmother or pastor. And so that the kids were like, why would we be sad about this? And so making sure that interventions and curricula are designed for the kids that we're serving. And so I think the most effective strategy is to know your community, know who you're serving, know the children, and know their needs.
Again, the human comes first.
Yeah, human first.
So what gaps and opportunities do you see for future research? And what are some questions we might be asking?
So I think there are many gaps in our research. There's so many areas to explore, particularly in rural contexts. Our rural communities are typically left out of randomized controlled trials. Tipton et al. Did a study through Northwestern that looked at IES-funded research and found that about 4% included rural communities, and 4 to 13%, depending on grade level. And that's problematic because 20% of our kids attend a rural school in the United States. And in states like Oklahoma, we're predominantly a rural state. And so without research to tell us what's evidence-based, there's so many gaps. And so I think replication work in rural areas, be that reading, math, writing, behavioral interventions, everything, replicate, figure out what adaptations and modifications need to be made to interventions and curricula that incorporate rural context, and then conduct rigorous randomized controlled trials. So few RCTs are completed in rural localities, and it's because of cost. It's because of distance. It's because researchers want to work close to their universities. All of those things play a part. However, if we can design well and know that there are going to be more travel resources, and know that we're going to have to leverage technology and be creative in the ways that we leverage technology, will allow us to do some of this work. And so if you were to say, what's the biggest opportunity? Replication is the biggest opportunity right now, I think.
That's a great point. What else should teacher preparation programs consider moving forward?
Consider rural schools. They're great environments to place student teachers. It's a little more distance. Consider technology to serve and supervise. Consider additional partnerships with rural schools. I think that those partnerships can be very rich and they can be mutually beneficial. They certainly have been for our team and the teams that we work with. And what a great opportunity that we have.
This will be the last question. Okay. What resources, tools, or networks would you recommend for rural educators who'd like to learn more about this topic?
Absolutely. I would recommend looking at the American Council on Rural Special Education, ACRES. It's a wonderful organization that's devoted specifically to special education and rural special education. There's also a 2-part special series coming out in Rural Special Education Quarterly that talks about research methods and how to conduct research in collaboration with rural communities and schools. It talks about quantitative designs, single case designs. There are articles on social network analysis, mixed methods. There are a few on how to review and how to write. For rural audiences, that's another great resource. I also recommend networking with your rural communities. They're the best resource, saying, hey, what questions do you have and how can we support you? That's how I got started in one district in Texas. I reached out to the district and said, hey, I'm new faculty at this university. Is there anything I can help you with? And I did some professional development, and it just blossomed into evaluation work. It blossomed into a large network that is allowing us, even during challenging times, to continue to run randomized controlled trials and pretty rich single case design work. in collaboration together. So those are my resources and recommendations.
Thank you, Dr. Hott, for sharing your vision toward technology innovation in the rural education context. It was a very great chance to learn about the community. We should always put community and human first before technology integration. And there's a little lack of representation of rural context in research, so we need to move forward. So I appreciate your time and look forward to learning more about your work.
Thank you so much.
For more information about CITL research and practice briefs and other resources, please go to citl.org. Don't forget to follow us on social media, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a message. Thank you all for joining us.